400 kilograms of gunpowder will help set the sky alight on New Year's Eve. At 14 minutes long, it's going to be the biggest fireworks display Newcastle has. "400 kilograms of gunpowder will help set the sky alight on New Year's Eve. At 14 minutes long, it's going to be the biggest fireworks display Newcastle has ever put on. Nearly 50,000 people are expected to celebrate on the foreshore, police not taking any chances with malicious behaviour.
I want people to see a lot of police because that's important to have that visibility and hopefully jump on things if anything does arise very, very quickly.
The extended police presence will continue the following day, catching those who think they've slept off a big night.
It is amazing each and every year how many people we detect for drink driving on New Year's Day.
As for how to get into the city for the festivities, park and ride buses will be running from Broadmeadow, or if cycling is more your thing, a bike valet service is available at Lynch's Hub on the foreshore.
People can bring their bikes in and we'll check them in, give them a little ticket, just like you check a code at a club or something like that.
Lynch is also offering picnic hampers online. And if you're yet to pick a spot to ring in the new year watching fireworks, Newcastle Harbour, Nelson's Bay, Maitland, Toronto Foreshore and Hunter Valley Gardens will all have 9 o'clock fireworks. Harrigan's Irish Pub in Pecolbin, the only place with a midnight display. Georgia Marr, NBN News.
A day out on the water, Port Stephens providing an ideal backdrop for a popular holiday pastime.
With the growth in the economy and fuel, people are coming back and using their boats more.
But with that comes more chance for error. Since Christmas Day, 11 rescues have been completed by the local unit, bringing the total number of missions in 2017 to 220.
Finishing a year where we'll be 20% higher than the year before and back to the levels of 2005. So it is very active.
Port Stephens Marine Rescue says boat maintenance has become its biggest issue. No fuel and electrical problems behind the majority of call-outs.
Where people have got their boats sitting all year round, comes Christmas, out they come having last year's fuel in it.
But it's the simple message on life jackets volunteers say is falling on deaf ears.
Now that they've got the life jackets in the boat, they're not wearing them. A life jacket's never spoiled a day on the water.
Talia Sav, NBN News.
From tackling new heights to capturing our hearts, 2017 was the year we celebrated and mourned the people who defined the hunter. In October, several Knights Greats cheated death while trekking to Everest Base Camp to raise money for the Mark Hughes Foundation.
Just started to get really heavy headaches, dizzy, disoriented, sort of lost our way a little bit. Thankfully they had some oxygen there. Felt okay the next day, got choppered out to hospital for a check-up, but for about a day or so, it was a really weird feeling and as I said, quite physically stressful. I never felt alone or really in danger. I felt as if the boys had my back.
It was a dream almost 2 decades in the making. This month, Wendy Evans became the first severely disabled person to sail solo around Lake Macquarie. Robert Manning is defying expectations. After taking up karate almost 15 years ago following a brain injury, he received his black belt in November. But the hunter also suffered great heartbreak this year. We said goodbye to 2 of the region's sporting legends. Former Test cricketer Robert Dutchy Holland lost his battle with brain cancer in September and was given a fitting farewell. Australian tennis ace Peter Doohan passed away at the age of 56 after battling motor neuron disease.
There wasn't a time where when he came into the room, he didn't lift our spirits in the Davis Cup, in training, the locker room. Peter was one of the good guys.
The Novocastrian famously took down two-time Wimbledon champion Boris Becker in 1987. In July, 15-year-old Hannah Rye captured hearts across the nation. The terminally ill schoolgirl attending her formal with her knight in shining armour, Trent Hodkinson.
She brought a smile to my face last night. She was so strong.
A month later, the brave hunter teenager passed away. Her final wish to be farewelled with a special motorbike convoy. While NBN News also lost a dear friend and long-time member of the family, veteran cameraman Michael Rourke passed away following a brave battle with cancer. Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
It'll be a night remembered by missed opportunities. Ernie Merrick instead happy to heap praise on his side.
I don't think there's any doubt about, who was going to win the game in the second half. But I was pretty proud of the way they worked right to the end and tried to get an equaliser.
It was Groundhog Day for the opener. Stevan Ugarkovic's run and ball were of the same standard, Hoffman doing the rest, but there was to be no repeat of their last encounter.
I think we've overachieved for a while now. I just keep thinking that mid-February we should have everyone back, so we're going to be a very much stronger team in the last third of the league, and that's a crucial time. So today was more of a learning situation.
Merrick will hope they learn fast before facing Sydney on Wednesday in a game that could well decide the premiership. Ivan Vujica is suspended after receiving his 5th yellow card. Johnny Katrumbis and Ben Kantarovski are under injury clouds, both forced from the field. Nigel Bogard was potentially concussed, while Nick Cowburn and Riley McGree head off with the Ollie Roos.
It's going to be pretty tough playing against Sydney with half a team. I don't even know if we can put a team out.
Better luck for the W League Jets. They'll finish the year in second after their 3-1 win. After scoring her maiden goal, Hannah Brewer earned plenty of new fans for her honesty post-game.
I've always dreamt of scoring, but being a defender, I've never really got in the box, and today was that day. I guess it might have looked like I knew what I was doing, but in my head I was freaking out a little, but it was good to finish.
It was another incredible season for the Edgeworth Eagles in the NPL. 3 straight premierships, but come grand final day, it was third time unlucky. Lambton 2-0 winners in extra time. In the first decider to be played at McDonald Jones Stadium. On that ground a fortnight earlier, third time was a charm for the Macquarie Scorpions in the Newcastle Rugby League. After back-to-back doses of heartbreak, they finally had their premiership, beating a West side who dominated all season but couldn't put it together on grand final day. On the other side of Newcastle, at the same time, Hamilton blew apart the Wanderers to claim local rugby's decider. They jumped out of the blocks and never looked back, 45-12 winners, their 3rd straight crown. Merewether won a thrilling WPL decider, coming from 3-1 down to triumph 4-3 over Warners Bay. Terragulavoca held out a fast-finishing Cardiff in the Black Diamond Grand Final to maintain their dominance. The Coast celebrated again when Gosford beat Norths to claim the local hockey title. While West ended the dominance of Souths in Newcastle netball, setting the pace all season, they prevailed by 23 goals.
I alerted the lifeguards and they reacted, within good time and did the best they could to save the guy's life, unfortunately, and he didn't quite make it.
The water's edge at Nelson Bay was packed by midday. Locals and tourists bringing their camping chairs and blankets and hunting for a fireworks vantage point.
Yeah, I'm going to come down this afternoon with the kids and jump on the trampolines, do a bit of face painting, watch the fireworks.
Last year they were excellent, so I'm really looking forward to them.
Why are you excited for the fireworks?
Because we get to stay up.
A brand new water park will keep the kids entertained until 9 o'clock. And live music for the parents. Revellers agree there's no substitute for a New Year's Eve by the sea.
I wanted to get to the coast. Yeah, we live inland of Wodonga, so yeah, just wanted to get to the coast for a bit of a holiday.
Yes, it's my first New Year in Australia, yeah.
Tourism advocate Will Creedon says tonight's celebrations will cap off an unforgettable 12 months. The industry is booming.
We've had a cracker of a year. 10.2 million visitors, nearly $2.5 billion to our region. New Year's, we're expecting a whopper. All over Port Stephens, the Lake, Newcastle and the Valley.
And there's certainly plenty of excitement in the city. The Cambridge Hotel's New Year party will spill out onto the street, with Bliss and Esso slated to perform later tonight. Jacinta Lee, NBN News.
And reporter Meredith Gibbs joins us live now from Newcastle foreshore. Meredith, how's the crowd looking there?
Thanks, Tyson. Well, plenty of people are already arriving for what's being billed as Newcastle's biggest fireworks display ever. Despite the ominous sky, 50,000 people are expected to pack the foreshore for the 9 p.m. show. Families have already staked out their spots to celebrate the new year, and police are already making their presence felt. There'll also be 9 p.m. fireworks at Toronto, Nelson Bay, Maitland and the Hunter Valley, while Harrigan's Irish Pub and in Colburn is the only place you'll get to see a midnight display. Back to you.
Meredith Gibbs reporting there.
From furry farewells to the opportunity of a lifetime, 2017 provided plenty of joy in the region. In what was perhaps the sweetest yarn of the year, a Lake Macquarie resident found herself in a sticky situation.
I never in my wildest dreams thought that I'd have a beehive in my wall.
From one sweet nectar to another, in September, one man's dream came true. A Newcastle beer garden was raffled off, a father of two defying the odds to win the ultimate prize.
My head hasn't had a chance to stop spinning,
woke up this morning thinking, did that really happen?
Christmas came early for our surfers. In July, monster swell hit our shores, producing a once-in-a-year event.
Got maybe one of the best waves I've ever had out here this morning, so it's been a good day.
The Hunter was swept up in the silly season. From a winter wonderland in Wallsend to magic in Morpeth, festive cheer taken to new heights. Flash mobs proved popular. Educators at Callaghan College Senior Campus surprising their students. It wasn't just Christmas inspiring the region. A home in Maitland becoming a spooktacular sight. Newcastle's best-known guide dog hung up his harness as the next generation stepped up. Meredith Gibbs, NBN News. He's the breakout star of the year. Newcastle's biggest export and one of the tallest, former Hunters player Ben Simmons is on track for greatness. The 21-year-old 76ers star is already being compared to his idol and mentor, LeBron James. Simmons seems a shoo-in for the NBA's Rookie of the Year crown. They don't come much tougher than... 2 years ago, he was fighting for life after a horror crash in Melbourne. 1 year ago, he suffered a punctured lung and shattered his elbow in a fall in Poland. He rode most of this season with a broken foot and still became World Speedway champion.
It's nice to hear the world champion said under my name. It hasn't really sunk in at the moment.
Just as tough and just as daring is Rhiannon Ifland. The Lake Macquarie diver jumps off cliffs for a living, and for the second year in a row, she was the best in the world at it. An outstanding performance too from Charlestown golfer Andrew Dote. He teed off at the famed British Open, his first major, after narrowly missing out on the winner's check at the Scottish Open. Jason Sanger's star is rapidly rising. The 18-year-old cricket prodigy smashed 133 for the Australian 11 side against England's Ashes squad. Another star on the rise, ice skater Kalani Crane, who sealed her spot in the Winter Olympics.
It feels absolutely amazing. I'm so excited.
From the Olympics to the Commonwealth Games, three-time World Lawn Bowls champion Natasha Scott qualified for Gold Coast, her third Games. Well and truly on the radar is runner Celia Sullivan. She won her maiden City to Surf title, the Melbourne Marathon, and the national 10,000 metre title. It was another strong year for perennial Hunter achiever Kurt Fernley. More podium finishes and another City to Surf win, albeit in unusual circumstances.
My right wheel started to come loose and I asked every person I passed whether they got Allen keys, and thankfully by about 9k in I ran into someone who did, and he put the wheels back on and it was back on the way.
Corinne Hammond had her eye on the prize, placing second at the World Masters Darts tournament in the UK and gaining a lot of new fans. Arguably, it was the year of women's sport. Sam Poolman signing with the GWS Giants as netball went pro. Pippa Smythe drafted for the Giants too in AFLW. Isabel Kelly, Caitlin Moran and Rebecca Young lifted the World Cup as the Gillaroos beat New Zealand. And the Jets' Emily Van Egmond starred for the Matildas in Newcastle in what was their biggest ever standalone home game.
Belongings still scattered across the road, a stark and painful reminder of a life lost.
About 2:40 a.m. this morning, a 54-year-old male was struck by a motor vehicle.
Killed in a New Year's Day hit and run in the Newcastle suburb of New Lambton, the driver leaving the victim in the middle of the street.
Soon after the incident, the vehicle stopped shortly and then drove from the scene and was located a short distance away.
Neighbours did what they could to help the 54-year-old victim, some even administering CPR.
A number of residents actually came to the aid of the male and they were first on the scene.
The car struck the man with such force several residents reported hearing the moment of impact. He was treated by paramedics here at the scene and taken to nearby John Hunter Hospital, where sadly he passed away. Police closed the intersection of Railway Road and Wickham Road for much of the morning as officers scoured the area.
Crash investigation from Sydney, our local detectives and also forensic services group on scene.
Soon after, a 34-year-old man was arrested and taken to Waratah Police Station for questioning. Any witnesses to the incident are being urged to come forward. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
As the sun set on 2017, thousands packed Maitland's riverbank.
Big crowd here last year. This year I think it's bigger. It's good for Maitland. Let everyone get together and enjoy the night.
Revellers were in good spirits, as were emergency services. The focus on family-friendly fun. Most were climbing, flipping, spinning and sliding into the new year. Others were simply hanging on or indulging in a tasty treat.
It's never nothing like this back home, I tell you. This is absolutely wonderful. I love it.
Resolutions are a New Year tradition. This Roosters tragic got in early.
I promised my son that if they do win, I'll be getting a tattoo on my leg.
In Newcastle, the foreshore was the place to be, families getting in early to secure a spot.
We got here at 4 o'clock today. I was checking it out actually in the weeks ahead of time just to make sure I got the right spot.
By the evening, every vantage point was taken for the fireworks spectacular. An explosion of colour lighting up the night sky. Many were keen for a keepsake.
Oh, they're getting better every year actually. They're lasting longer, there's more of them and really exciting. The kids love them. We come down every year.
Some look to party on. As the clock ticked down to midnight, the Cambridge's street party was only just getting started. Bliss and Esso ushering in 2018. Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
Picturesque and potentially dangerous.
Yesterday was probably our busiest day for quite some time.
Hunter Beaches caught many off guard yesterday. Between Redhead and Catherine Hill Bay alone, large surf saw almost 50 people pulled from the water.
Lifeguards have performed around about 45 rescues yesterday alone, with probably close to 30 of them being at Caves Beach.
While nearby Fraser Park claimed yet another life, that of a man from Parramatta in Sydney's west. The 30-year-old was pulled from the surf unconscious after becoming caught in a strong rip while swimming with his brother.
The lifeguards did a tremendous job. Everyone did the best they could, and I think everyone's shaken up. It's a natural response.
The tragedy unfolded in front of his family. Lifeguards are reminding people of the importance of swimming between the flags.
A young man lost his life down there at Fraser Park and unfortunately there was a patrolled area only a couple of hundred metres away. But unless you're an absolute great swimmer in the ocean, it's just not worth the risk.
Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
A high-profile operation targeting driver behaviour, all part of Operation Safe Arrival.
Well, overall, the police are happy with most of the motorists' behaviour, but there is always that minority that come to grief and cause problems for others.
Today's traffic blitz focused on Morisset, Edgeworth, Tyes Hill, Mayfield and Georgetown.
We're looking at alcohol-related driving, drug-impaired driving, restraint, mobile phone offences.
Close to 2,300 breath tests were conducted today. 19 returned positive results. 3 were in the high range, 6 in the mid-range. 120 drug tests were also conducted, 23 of those positive.
Our focus is on alcohol and drug-impaired driving, fatigue, restraints, general antisocial driving behaviour, anything that will cause crashes that we're zeroing in on.
Doubled merits end at midnight, but the message to motorists remains clear.
Please do the right thing, be patient, plan your return journeys well, have regular breaks.
Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
Again, which has probably happened, far too often. We weren't able to find that final pass or that cutback or that cross, to put someone in front of goal to score.
Down on troops, but not on enthusiasm.
There isn't a game I think we've played we haven't scored a goal, and that shows you they're still up for it.
But it's just getting harder. The Jets' casualty ward keeps growing. Skipper and defensive stalwart Nigel Bogart is definitely out, concussed in the loss to Victory. Ivan Vuisha is suspended after copping a 5th yellow, and Nick Calburn is on Australian under-23s duty. Johnny Katrumbis and Ben Kantarovski are in doubt, but should be okay.
We won't know until tomorrow who's available and who's not available and whether they can play a full game or not. So everyone else is on notice to be prepared to get on the bus to go down to Sydney tomorrow.
In a huge positive, Daniel Georgievski will return from injury. Lachlan Jackson will come into the back line for the injured captain. And there could very well be some new and young faces on the bench, with 17-year-olds Angus Thurgate and Patrick Langlois training strongly.
They could get a call-up to be on the bench, but I wouldn't start a very young player.
One thing is for certain, headed into Wednesday's clash, the Jets won't be straying from their game plan, despite the prospect of a full-strength Sydney FC.
They're going to be very tough to beat at home, but we can still play our brand of attacking football. They're fit, they're prepared, and the best players are on the park and have been together for a couple of years now, and they're looking very good. But there can be upsets, and we're looking forward to not only this game but the future games when we've got all our players back as well.
We are working on a plan to be at Le Mans in 2020, and it's something that has always been very, very passionate for me. I'd love to inspire young girls to be able to look at me and see, oh, she's doing that, I can do that too.
The 18-day holiday road safety campaign has concluded, one which delivered far from ideal results in the Hunter, according to police.
There were some disappointing results with the number of speeding tickets that were issued, the amount of alcohol impaired and drug-impaired driving that was detected on our roads during that period.
The northern region, between the Central Coast and the Tweed, saw more than 113,000 random breath tests conducted. 433 of those returned a positive reading. The Hunter made up more than a third of those, with 44,303 RBTs. Of almost 4,000 speeding tickets issued, more than 1,200 were in the local region, while 55 people were slapped with fines for mobile phone use and 98 for restraint offences in the Hunter. The statistics frustrating officers who say the message isn't sinking in.
They're obviously not listening to what we're saying. They're prepared to take risks and put people's lives at risk.
Operation Safe Arrival may have wrapped up, but police warn they'll still have a strong presence on the region's roads, leading into the next traffic blitz, Operation Safe Return. Double demerits will again come into effect on January 25.
Please be patient, plan your trip, be courteous to other road users and drive safely.
Renee Feder, NBN News.
An unfolding emergency and a desperate race against time to save 5 young lives. The frantic scenes playing out at Berrubi Beach.
Actually found 5 people had been dragged out of the water, 2 of those in quite a serious condition.
The group from Sydney's west was swimming outside the flagged area just after 5 p.m. yesterday. Swept away by a strong undercurrent, they were rescued by 2 surfers and a Swedish tourist.
Definitely gone above and beyond what's expected of a normal person.
For a 27-year-old man and a 14-year-old girl, help arrived just in time. When the man and teenage girl were pulled from the surf, both were lapsing in and out of consciousness. Lifesavers were able to stabilise them, but their conditions were so serious, the Westpac rescue helicopter was called to airlift them to hospital.
The lifesavers here, the actions of Berrubi truly saved people's lives. I think the swiftness of how they treated the people and with the professionalism that these guys showed, second to none.
The drama unfolded just a day after a swimmer drowned at a Central Coast beach. Lifesavers say it's yet another reminder to always swim between the flags.
The incident at Fraser Park the other day was 300 metres outside the flagged area. This was a kilometre outside the flagged area.
Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
A sign of the times for Beaumont Street.
We found out last Thursday afternoon when they started putting up signs. We're going to lose buses down Beaumont Street for businesses who rely on a lot of people who come down to do their daily services, banks and chemists and other things.
It's part of the latest shake-up for Newcastle's public transport system. Today, Keolis Downer released new bus and ferry timetables before they're rolled out on January 14.
I think the last time they were revamped was back in 2008. So certainly it's about reinvigorating public transport within Newcastle.
The overhaul includes bus route changes along with their numbers, the traditional 3 digits to make way for a new 2-digit system.
There was a danger that if things slightly different, people would remember their own old routes. So having new routes, new numbering, and it's in a hierarchy system, on what's frequent, standard and tailored is the best for people.
To make sure everyone is on board with the changes, the private operator is encouraging the community to visit its transport hub in Hunter Street Mall.
Also our staff, customer service staff, will be at shopping centres, out on the network.
Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
It's been almost 6 years, but tomorrow night, Nikolai Topor-Stanley will again lead out the Newcastle Jets.
It's an honour to be named captain of the team. I always try to lead. It's my job to organise.
That job will take on extra importance tomorrow, with regular skipper and defensive partner Nigel Bogard out.
He's our leader, he's an experienced campaigner, but that's another opportunity for a young player to come in and do a job.
That player will be Lachlan Jackson, given Bogard's best wishes today.
This is an opportunity for him to come in and, grasp an opportunity and play well and play against the top side in the nation.
It's a tag that can't be disputed at the moment, dismantling Perth 6-0 on Saturday night. It was always going to be a stern test for the Jets, made even tougher with a new defensive combination.
They're deserving leaders of this competition, but we go down with no fear. They're a handful for anyone. But, last game we played them, I think we were a bit too timid in the first half. And, we came back and really put them on the back foot in their backyard. So we'll be looking to start like that.
Ben Kenarowski was back sprinting today after hamstring tightness, but it's unlikely he'll feature for the Jets tomorrow night. Johnny Katrumbis sees a better chance. He's recovered well from a hip flexor strain. While after impressing in the Youth League, it's understood Port Macquarie teenager Angus Thurgate will be named on the bench in line for his A-League debut. By contrast, tomorrow night will mark Topor-Stanley's 250th A-League appearance.
Yeah, it's nice. Maybe nothing without the win, though. Those are the accomplishments that I'm looking for.
They were excited. Everyone started placing their bets because we kind of thought things were going to happen a bit sooner. So they were all placing their bets, but they're all excited that she's here early. So.
Water on one side of the road and a drainage pipe clearly not doing the job on the other. These residents living along Marsh Road at Bob's Farm say it's all being caused by a damaged levee bank along Tilligerry Creek and outdated, unmaintained floodgates.
That withholds all the water. Now the water is in excess, it is running over the road.
They claim pleas to Port Stephens Council for help have fallen on deaf ears.
They want to palm it off to someone else. Oh, it's the ratepayers' problem. These floodgates, oh no, it's not our problem. That's the property owners up to fix that. We're not going to jump in the mangroves and fix something that the council put in years ago.
John Hawkins has lived along the road for 35 years. He says the water, which is at its worst during a king tide, is putting his livelihood as a cattle farmer at risk.
Salt on Kaikoura just ruins it and it won't come back. So it's either sell them or try and adjust them somewhere else. What can I do to fix this? Who's going to help?
Residents say it's not just their properties that they're concerned about. They're also worried about the safety of motorists when they're navigating through the water.
The water coming over the road with traffic, something's going to happen.
Port Stephens Council today said it does lift the road level during pavement renewal work and that it does not manage private property levee banks between Tilligerry Creek and the properties on the north side of Marsh Road. Emma Murphy, NBN News.
I can say that the local police and the Highway Patrol have conducted over 5,000 RBT tests in that period, and luckily as a result we've had no fatalities or serious injuries.
Docked and loaded with opportunity. The first of 12 cruise ships bound for Newcastle in 2018 sailed in this morning. Many passengers then setting off on day trips to Port Stephens and wine country. The majority, however, took in the city sights.
This year we should expect to see about $18 million worth of economic activity from cruise ships alone.
Tourism advocate Will Creedon hit back at recent comments, claiming there's a lack of things for passengers to do in the CBD.
Let's look at some evidence. The cruise ships keep coming and keep coming in greater numbers.
There's close to 3,000 passengers on board the Celebrity Solstice, an even split between domestic and international tourists. 2,000 of those came ashore in Newcastle today.
See the local shops, maybe have a nice feed, find a beer.
What's that out there? Is that the Newcastle?
That's Nobby's Lighthouse.
Just locally, just going shopping, just spending some money.
It was very cool and relaxed and not overcrowded.
Cafes on Hunter Street capitalised.
We've seen a tremendous change, so for tourism, the influx of people, as you can see on the street here, it's becoming more vibrant.
Construction on the city's new cruise terminal is due to start soon. It will take its first boat in late 2018. Georgia Ma, NBN News.
Where the city meets the sea. Home to glistening ocean baths and a popular surf break, Merewether Beach has a lot to offer. And it seems word is getting around. It's been named the country's best city beach in the 101 Best Australian Beaches list.
It's no surprise at all. Yeah.
Best beach, hands down. Pretty good spot, so pretty hard to beat.
The water's always good.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Over the last decade, Merewether has been transformed. Surf House and the Bathers Way now attract beachgoers of all ages. but locals say its openness and laid-back atmosphere has been maintained.
There's such a community feel down here, so not only beach users, but it's great to see activity and families.
Surfers also not surprised by the national crown.
Nice and clean, especially when it pumps, it's good.
If you're not hitting the waves or soaking it up on the sand, it's likely you're taking in Merewether's beauty from right here.
Cappuccino for Talia.
Thank you. Local businesses welcoming the beach's newest title.
At the moment it does seem like it's extremely busy, but I feel like, a lot more people will find out about it.
Talia Sarv, NBN News.
She had a slight head cold today, but nothing will hold Susie Bakovic back tomorrow night.
I'm fine. I'll be fine.
The Fire will go head-to-head with Sydney Uni. Bakovic taking on fellow Novocastrian Katie Ray Ebzery.
We've trained in the off-season at times in Newcastle together, and look, she's a great athlete and she's tough, and she's a different kind of point guard. She's a point guard that wants to score and is capable of scoring big numbers, so we've just got to make sure that we do a job on her early.
The sides met last Friday night. Sydney won easily, but a handful of Townsville players were effectively rested, including Bakovic.
I don't think I do too many of those games, and prefer it to be that one and get it out of the way as opposed to, coming into finals time.
But that's not an indication this season will be her last.
Just see how the body's going, but I'm not ready to let go of the game just yet. I know it's coming closer and closer, but at the moment, I feel like I'm still playing good ball, and it's the pointing into the season, so for now I'm just focusing on that.
Head-to-head, Sydney has the upper hand this campaign, but apart from last meeting's blowout, the games have been decided by a basket.
It's going to be a grind, and I would expect it to be a grind. Obviously, Fairy Tale, I'd love to just wallop them by 30, but realistically, they are a great side, and they've got, some really big studs there that we've got to make sure that we limit, how much they're scoring.
My hair's got a lot greyer in the time since we started, 1979. Yeah, but the response from both the community and the surfers up and down from Dudley through to Lake Munmore is terrific. It's fantastic.
A husband in the midst of the most heartbreaking of losses, one that could easily have been prevented. Late yesterday, a 43-year-old woman was rock fishing at Snapper Point when she fell into the water. Her body was later recovered by surf lifesavers. Police say she was not wearing a life jacket.
In the situations we've had the last few days where there've been family and friends there to witness it, it's a horrible situation for the family to see one of their loved ones in that condition. And the same thing goes for the rescuers as well. The rescuers see those people and have to deal with the outcome of that too.
People are spending thousands of dollars on their fishing reels, their fishing equipment, but they can't spend $60 on a life jacket that will save your life.
It takes the number of drownings along the 3-kilometre stretch of coastline from Catherine Hill Bay to Snapper Point to 19 over the past 8 years.
It's probably one of the most dangerous stretches of the coastline on the entire coast of Australia. It is very remote. Phone reception doesn't work in there. I don't know why people continue to go there and fish. It is so dangerous.
It's already been a trying summer for lifeguards here at Caves Beach. On New Year's Eve, they pulled 35 people from the surf within just an hour.
Fortunately, most of them were close to the flagged area, so our lifeguards are on scene, but up and down our beaches at the moment, people are swimming everywhere.
Emma Murphy, NBN News.
Swimming attire may have evolved since January 1908, but Stockton Surf Lifesaving Club is still standing strong, albeit in a different building and with a different purpose.
We started out as a rescue service for stricken sailors whose ships had run aground trying to enter the harbour.
The second oldest club in the Hunter branch will celebrate its 110th birthday later this month.
For a small club, we do output a lot of medals and we've had a lot of champions over the years.
Les Sharkey Iredale, the grandfather of Novocastrian Olympic swimmer Justin Norris, one of the most decorated club members to date. The club's services not restricted to beach swimmers, flood-stricken towns like Maitland in 1955, and soldiers in the Stockton Bight disaster rescued by its members.
The military had an exercise in the harbour in the Stockton Bight. Some of them hit a storm and some of their vessels become stricken.
In darkness and high seas, 20 soldiers were saved that morning. Decades on, it's that bravery and commitment looking to be passed to the club's juniors.
Nippers is, in our 110-year history, is relatively new. It's only about 40 or 45 years old. But over that time, we've trained thousands of nippers.
Georgia Marr, NBN News.
It's the night the rest of the A-League finally took notice. Newcastle even surprising their coach.
With that many inexperienced players in the team against a formidable opponent away from home, I honestly thought we wouldn't win the game.
That changed minutes in. Before a moment of brilliance. Joey Champness gave Newcastle hope of an upset again with a superb strike before Bobo struck late.
Some of the boys played above themselves. There's kids there that hardly played any football. I don't know if once, just can't wait on all our players coming back again.
One of them watching back in Newcastle, new recruit Patricio Rodriguez. He will play some role against the Mariners.
They always say they're really fit and they played up to December. You got what I look for is how lean he is, and he's lean, and that's a good sign.
After Graham Arnold's recent Nostradamus scoreline predictions, Ernie Merrick couldn't resist a jab.
Apparently they wrote 2-2 on the whiteboard. Did you know that? They wrote 2-2 down there. I went in the change room. It was 2-2.
But as for whether his Jets are the ones who'll knock the Sky Blues off,
I wouldn't jump that far ahead, Tom. I'm just pretty happy to come here and get a point.
Meanwhile, the W-League Jets remain in second after their gritty come-from-behind performance, ending 2-2. Gemma Simon was the hero, making her mark after a long injury spell. Back from the Christmas break, there were no nasty surprises for the coach.
Everyone thankfully has come back and done the right thing.
Still on his wish list, an experienced outside back and a front rower, but he's happy to wait given his current crop.
If we can have our squad fit and able now, and we certainly be happy to go in the year that way.
That includes Jack Cogger, off contract at the end of the year. The Knights are hoping to retain him, but the Bulldogs are believed to be offering a 2-year deal and, more importantly, a starting halfback role. Although Brown says before then he won't be going anywhere.
There's absolutely no benefit in it at all for our club, and I know people will say, well, you've let people go in the past. In the past, we were at a total different stage of our development. We'd like to think we're going to win some games of footy this year, and Jack Cogger can be a part of that.
What about potentially if a player swap situation arises?
There's always, I suppose, a means to an end. I don't think Canterbury's going to want to give up David Clemmer, though, or someone like that, are they? So that's why there probably won't be a player swap.
After respective shoulder reconstructions, Daniel Saifidi, Tautau Moga and Mitch Barnett have all resumed light contact work.
All should be fit, I'd imagine, for the at least the Parramatta game, which would be great.
And there were plenty of other new faces today. A huge turnout of young fans, all eager for season kickoff.
As young kids, we'd all like to be able to do that if we could, so it's good to have them there, and I think the players enjoy it as well.